Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast, though it will be a little more serious than usual. We are in a very strange time right now. I'm sure I don't need to tell you this. It's a time where it's easy to be anxious and depressed and worried and afraid, and I'm not going to feed any of that in this podcast. I'm not even going to use the C word, because as I share with you my strategy for this, and as I share with you the reasons why I'm optimistic, I think these are strategies that work anytime, not just in crazy times like these. Certainly, some of these strategies are what helped me get out of the deep funk and depression that I was in back in 2018. I really want this to be a positive thing, not just this podcast, but also the interactions that we have with each other down in the comments section. I know that a number of you are probably in a bad place right now, probably concerned about finances. Maybe you have been furloughed or laid off, or your hours have been completely eliminated because of the type of work you do. I don't want you to think that as I talk about some of my optimism here, that I'm not empathetic to that. I myself have been on the receiving end of a corporate layoff twice. I know what it's like to be on unemployment. I know what it's like wondering if I'm going to be able to pay my mortgage. So I appreciate that many of us are going to go through some difficult times here. But like I said, I want to keep things optimistic in this conversation and down in the comments. On the subject of layoffs, a couple of months before the last time I got laid off by GE, a former coworker of mine and friend by the name of Sarah gave me a call because she found out she was being laid off. And I was the first person she called. She called and said, "Steve, I know you've been through this before. I'm shell-shocked. I don't know what to do. What do I do?" And my response to her was, it's going to sound weird, but I said, "Be happy." And then I sort of talked through all of kind of what I'm about to tell you with her. First off, I knew that she was miserable in her job. She was just constantly in a state of fear. She had bad managers, and she just wasn't happy. And I think if someone would have told her, you have an opportunity to take a little bit of time off and get some things squared away in your life and then go get a new job, she would have been thrilled because it would have been her choice. But this wasn't her choice, so she reacted the way we would all react when we're laid off or lose our job, which is sort of this state of panic and fear. And I told her that my biggest regret the first time I had gotten laid off was how much time I wasted. When you go through a job loss, that's the only thing really on your mind. It's your most immediate concern. But this passes, and eventually you're going to be working again, and you'll look back on this period of time, and you'll either look back on it fondly because you got a ton of stuff accomplished, or you're going to look back on it with regret. All the things that you wish you would have done instead of spending time worrying. And it's that latter situation that was really the case for me when I had gotten laid off back in 2007. I looked at this and just thought, wow, this would have been a perfect time to get caught up on books that I wanted to read, or maybe getting better at speaking Spanish, or better at playing guitar, or taking care of the massive honey-do list of chores and tasks and things around the house that I'd like to do, or just spending more quality time with the family. And I didn't do any of these things the first time I was laid off. I mainly just sort of sulked and worried. So I told Sarah, make a list. Make a list of things that you would do if you had some time off, and start doing them. Go into every day with a plan. Don't go to bed at night without writing down your plan for tomorrow. Because for one thing, that sort of frees up your brain. You're not going to lay in bed thinking, what do I need to do tomorrow? Because you already wrote it down. But also, you wake up in the morning and you've got a plan. You've got an outline. Maybe even better, you've got a schedule. So for those of you working at home or are now experiencing some time off as a result of your job being cut back, that's my first bit of advice. Go into every day with a plan. Make the most out of it. It's my belief that a lot of the anxiety and panic that people are going through right now are because they don't feel like they're in control. In fact, I read an article by a psychologist about this being the reason everybody's buying toilet paper, because it's an action. They feel like they're doing something, and by doing something, you feel that you're in control. And this is also a great reason to have a daily plan, a schedule, a list of things that you're going to accomplish on any given day. You're staying busy, which keeps your mind active and keeps you from worrying and keeps you from getting on your phone and looking at our 24-hour news cycle of worry. And getting stuff done also triggers the release of dopamine in your body. You feel good about accomplishing things, and that's going to improve your attitude. There are a lot of things that we can't control right now, and those things we just got to kind of let go and focus on what we can control. We can control our actions, we can control our words, and we can control our thoughts. In terms of controlling our thoughts, this is where meditation has really helped me out. Meditation is a great way to really clear your mind, to get rid of that monkey mind, all those crazy thoughts that are bouncing around. And it helps you control your inner dialogue. So rather than feeding thoughts of anxiety or worry or depression, you can kind of let them slide by. When I talk to people that have struggled with meditation, that's really the issue that they have mainly, is they get a thought, they're like, I'm trying to clear my mind, and thoughts keep popping in, and I'm constantly fighting the thoughts. And that's the wrong approach. If you fight a thought, you are engaging that thought. You're not letting it go. I had once read a metaphor about judo, and fighting a judo master, they say, is like fighting an empty jacket. It always seems to yield to you and lets you pass, yet you always wind up where the judo master wants you to go. And in a way, that's the approach you need to take when you're meditating or when you have a worrisome or anxious thought. Don't engage that thought. Don't fight that thought. Simply acknowledge it. Say, oh, that was a thought. Oh, that was a worry or an emotion. But then just let it pass and move on. If you're interested in trying out meditation, there are a couple of different apps out there that do guided meditation. One of them is Calm. I haven't used that. I've used Headspace. And with Headspace, the first 10 guided meditations are free. And it's a great way to try it out, see what you think, and you'll also then start learning a little bit more about clearing your mind of these unproductive, anxious, worrisome thoughts and emotions. So now we've all got a bunch of sort of extra time on our hands because we're staying at home. What do? Here's my recommendation. Get a piece of paper and a pen and write down, what would I do if I had 2 to 3 weeks of paid vacation? What are the things you'd do? Travel is off the list. But what are the things you've been telling yourself, man, if I just had a little bit more time, I would love to read this particular book, take up this particular hobby, fix that shower head or whatever it is that's leaking, whatever task that's been sitting around that you haven't gotten to. This is also an opportunity for us to spend more time with our family. I feel that over the last handful of years, we've just gotten so busy and so distracted with different technologies and activities, and it just seems like so few people do things as a family together. So maybe this is your opportunity to really re-engage with your family and spend some quality time together. With both of my kids home now from college, given that classes are all virtual now, we've been spending a lot of time together. Every night we're playing games, board games, card games. There's a lot of fun games out there to play as a family. In fact, I'll list some of the fun ones that we've been playing down below in case you'd like to get them. Another thing that you can do with your time right now is bulk cooking. Make some keto crackers, make some keto tortillas, make some fat bombs, make up a bunch of chaffles and freeze them. Now's the time, and then you can have this food sort of on call whenever you want it. Yesterday, I rendered close to 5 pounds of beef fat and made a bunch of tallow. In fact, that'll be a video later this week. But it's great. Now I got this huge supply of the best cooking fat, in my opinion. Well, duck fat is close, but tallow, ooh, so good. And I got a ton of it now. And my house still smells so good, so magnificently beefy. It makes me wonder why no one has created a Yankee Candle scent that is beef, because wow, does that smell good. And this kind of leads me into a little bit of why I feel optimistic at this point. First off, if you're keto and you're watching this channel, you're probably watching this channel because you cook. You enjoy cooking and you enjoy cooking keto. And I believe that those of us who have the ability to cook are going to fare far better if this sort of lockdown period extends longer than a couple of weeks. I was at the grocery store a few days ago, and all the carts at this particular store are like these little abridged carts. You know, they're, I don't know, 18, 24 inches long is all. And the woman who was at the checkout before me had filled up her cart more than I thought humanly possible. And I don't know that I saw any real food in her cart. She had, I believe, 14 bottles, or I think quart bottles or whatever size Gatorade comes in, but 14 bottles of Gatorade. And then all manner of frozen and processed type food items. And I just thought, wow, you know, what people consider food and gravitate towards, it kind of blows my mind now after being keto for a year, looking at these things that people consider food. I mean, I guess I used to consider them food as well. So while part of me looks at this and kind of, shakes my head that people eat this way, right now I'm kind of glad that a lot of people eat this way, because while they're filling up their cart with that, I'm getting bulk produce, I'm getting meat, really big cuts of meat. This is the other thing too, if you know how to carve up your own meat, get big bulk cuts of meat. The ones that other people are afraid of because there's some work involved. So being keto during this time frame has actually worked out kind of nicely. At Costco, everybody's running after rice and beans and canned vegetables, and I'm grabbing a brisket and almond flour and mozzarella and eggs, because I want to still be making chaffles. And there's plenty of this stuff on the shelves, at least for now. So I'm feeling pretty good about my keto pantry and my ability to feed myself, and who knows, at some point my family may run out of their food and have to kind of come on over to the keto side. So this could be an opportunity for me to get keto throughout the entire family. I'm also optimistic because I know that humanity is going to bounce back from this. As a species, we have done a remarkable job over the years bouncing back. And bouncing back from far worse things than what we're going through right now. Prior to this whole goofy situation starting, I'd been watching World War II in color, a documentary on Netflix. And it's mind-blowing to me, the devastation of life and infrastructure and everything that occurred during World War II. I don't think most people our age can even wrap our heads around this. And it's just mind-blowing and sort of awe-inspiring how people made it through this. How people made it through daily bombings and their homes destroyed and their lives just upended and their loved ones killed. I mean, this is some tragic stuff here. And yet, they made it through. And we're going to make it through this as well. I have a lot of faith in humanity. I know sometimes people do some bad stuff. You have looting, you have people that take advantage of crisis type situations and tragedies. But for the most part, I think it brings out the best in people. And the optimist in me believes that's going to happen here. I also know that 2 or 3 weeks of being cooped up, not going out to restaurants, not being able to experience life the way that we had gotten used to experience it, there's going to be, I believe, a pretty significant rebound. When we get past this, I see an explosion happening in the service industry. I think people are going to be out entertaining themselves, traveling, especially if gas stays cheap. So I think we're in a situation where if all of this works out and works out in a fairly timely manner, that we're going to bounce back. When we go through tough situations, tragedies, traumas, losses, challenges, whatever, it always seems so much worse at the time than it does when we look back on it. In fact, sometimes we look back on it almost with a little bit of nostalgia. And if you think about great stories that you tell, very often they start with some sort of tragedy and how you bounced back. People love these stories. Whether it's the rock bottom, dust yourself off, pick yourself up sort of story, the rags to riches story, or the overcoming some sort of a trial type of a story. So if you find yourself sort of feeling down, think about how this might one day be a great story that you can tell your kids or your grandkids. How people were buying Purell and selling it on eBay, or buying 400 rolls of toilet paper. And with that, I'll just say, stay positive, stay safe, cook, spend time with your family, make the most out of this time. And for my part, I promise I'll keep bringing you keto cooking videos. Thanks for watching or listening.